And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas,
where we talk about all your favorite scary movies.
And today we are covering a very highly talked about new release, Bring Her Back.
Very, very highly talked about. So we're finally seeing it. And by finally, I mean we saw it within like a week of it coming out.
Yeah.
So
I know. I kept in my head being like, we're finally seeing it. And I think I only felt that way because we had the opportunity to see it early and you didn't let us.
Whatever. We didn't know. It was part of Scream Unseen and we were busy. But we saw it on our little trip we just took. And we both were very scared of this movie.
I was impressed. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that further.
This is spoiler free, I should say. You didn't say that yet.
We are going to be spoiler free until we announce that we're not. So no worries about getting any of that. This movie, just going into some background, is the directorial follow-up from Danny and Michael Philippou to Talk to Me. This is their second feature-length film. And the film was written by Danny and Bill Heinzman. It's starring Sally Hawkins, Billy Barratt, and Sora Wong. And
I'm pretty sure Billy and Sora were basically no-name Australian actors up until this point.
Billy had been in a few things as like very nothing characters, and this is legitimately Sora's first film. She had been in a play at like her school. That's it.
Her and Billy were both very good, and Sally Hawkins is great. We didn't realize until after, and I was like, she looked like the lady from
Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
Yeah,
and you were
her.
like, wait, I think that is her, and it is. And I really like The Shape of Water.
So she's got two movies with quite the water theming.
Mm-hmm.
On Sora, though, since you mentioned her lack of like on-screen experience, she was cast from a casting call that her mom saw on Facebook. And the casting call indicated that they were looking for a girl that was visually impaired. And Wong was obviously a perfect fit for that because she was born with coloboma and microphthalmia.
Microphthalmia.
I kept pronouncing it ahead of time and I knew how to say it, but now I can't do it because I'm nervous. But either way, she has limited sight because she was born with both of those impairments. The first is a congenital condition where part of the eye tissue is missing, and then the latter is just like an underdeveloped eye.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool that they cast her because I was kind of thinking like usually people with an impairment like that aren't really getting into acting because there's not roles for them. So I was impressed with how good she was because I was like, well, you know, it's not usually someone with a disability like that would pursue. So I'm very happy she got the role. It's awesome that they went and actually found somebody with the disability.
I think it's important.
Also, I think it's important. I mean, you can also act to be blind. That's fine. However, it's great in this, and she's really, really good. So
I mean,
I'm all
yes,
for it.
you can act to be blind, but I think it's really important to give those people opportunities. It's similar to Millicent in A Quiet Place.
For sure. My thing is, I didn't really know there were people that maybe in my head I feel like it's uncommon for them to pursue that type of work. So I think it's cool. Yeah, if they're out there, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's cool. I hope more people with certain disabilities do go and feel that they can try to get that work. It's going to be difficult still, but
that's why it's important to give them opportunity.
Cool yeah, that's what I just said.
Yes. I don't know. I didn't like the way you're phrasing it. Okay. Well, back of the box synopsis for Bring Her Back is a brother and sister uncover a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. And fun fact, Bring Her Back and Talk to Me exist in the same cinematic universe.
That's silly.
Danny explained there's a mixed media thing that we're working on at the moment, and it helps show the tie-in a little bit.
All right,
so
cool.
we will be seeing
so this is a
more
sequel
evidence of that.
To Talk to Me.
It's not, no. But
it's
they
a prequel
exist.
To Talk to Me.
No, it's not. But they exist in the same world in some capacity.
That's silly. Okay.
I think it's fun.
Sure.
I'm cool with it. I don't care. So we saw this, like we said, on a trip. Fun fact, we were on a national park trip, and one of the parks we tried to go to the road was closed through like most of the park, and we were like, fuck,
Let's just go see Bring Her Back.
what are we gonna do with our time? Like, our whole day was supposed to be here, and we drove like an hour south out of the park to like the first town where we had any service or where there's like any civilization.
Dropped our stuff at a hotel and went to a Cinemark.
And went to the movies.
I have to say, I have been an AMC boy, but that Cinemark was pretty nice. I didn't really know what else they had out there. I think a lot nicer than the 3 AMCs we typically go to.
No, I don't necessarily
those hallways,
agree.
it felt cleaner. I don't know.
It's definitely nicer than our closest AMC, I will say that, but that's not hard to do.
Well, I'm still an A-list boy.
Yeah, sorry, Cinemark.
What's up? What next?
Okay. So what were your expectations like going into this, I guess?
I very purposely, once people started talking about it, I did not watch a single trailer. I tried to avoid every review. I just heard it was very upsetting and good. I tried to keep it just at that. I didn't want to know anything else. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy I went in with just that.
Yeah.
What about you?
I had known a little bit more about it than you did. I knew... So Matt literally went in knowing absolutely nothing.
Which was great. I like that.
I knew the terrifying ritual part of the back of the box description. Mm-hmm. I knew that.
Okay.
So I knew a little bit going in. I also had heard a lot about what makes the film so scary going in. So I definitely had more of an expectation that I was looking to have met.
Were you happy to have had that?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, honestly, I do well with a little bit of spoiler for horror movies since I'm such a weenie. Mm-hmm. So I was fine going in with like some mild spoilers for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I was expecting a very good movie, and I feel like I got a really solid movie. So I'm pleased.
I was expecting something that was going to make me feel like shit, and I got that. I was uncomfortable and felt dread the entire movie. And not from everything. It's not that it was scary. It was just the whole movie made me feel not at ease. It had me on edge the whole time, which I thought was really cool. And like, I love when a movie can do that because I don't think it's very common.
Yeah, I was very impressed by this film's ability to make me feel really tense and therefore scared, because I think those feelings for me are very, very tied together, without throwing stuff in my face to like be jumpy. This is scary in that the real life implications of this are fucking terrifying. And that's the kind of scary that I like. So I was personally really happy with that. I can't say it's the most fun I've ever had at a cinema, but this movie's not supposed to be quote unquote fun.
I had a good time. And I think the people in our theaters felt similarly. A lot of people were...
People were definitely reacting.
Yes, we saw reactions. And we had a pretty nice group, so...
It was a solidly packed theater. When we got in, it was completely empty, and we were like, uh-oh. And then people, like, poured in during the trailers. It was crazy how empty it went to how full. But I was very pleased about that, because obviously... new original IP, whenever that's existing, I'm always happy to see people in the theater with me.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome. I don't know how this is doing in the box office so far, but word of mouth seemed good. Like, I've been hearing a lot of people say good things, and so it's been all over social media.
Yes,
and especially at a time where it is competing with something like what's it called, Bloodlines,
Final Destination,
Bloodlines,
and then Sinners and still more, being in some theaters. This actually has like real shit box office numbers right now, surprisingly.
Yikes, I'm shocked by that, just because of how many people are talking about it.
I don't think it has had great press. Like, I hadn't seen it anywhere besides independent horror reviewers that I follow and care about.
Sure.
It has only made, according to Google Gemini, 12.7 million worldwide. And it had a $15 million budget. So that's not great. But it's only been in theaters for a week. So it's going to meet its budget. It's just really unfortunate when Talk to Me is A24's biggest horror earner. And at the time was their biggest earner, period.
I think this one's a little less approachable than Talk to Me. And that's why I like it. Yeah. But also, it's going to have a run. It should have a long theatrical run, which would be great. And yeah, I'm hoping it makes its budget because I want to see these brothers make more movies because
Yes, I
they
agree.
really do have an eye for horror.
They
I was
really do, yeah.
really impressed. They came from YouTube. I think it's cool. This is an early example of, I think, people coming from YouTube into traditional media. And they're knocking it out of the park. We don't have many people that have done that. We've Chris Stuckman, who's about to have a movie, Shelby Oaks, come out in like a couple months. So I'd be really interested to see that as well because that's another person making that leap.
I always love when someone from another medium kind of comes into horror. I mean, like, I think Jordan Peele is a fucking incredible example.
Yes.
Like, obviously he was in the industry, but doing
that's what I was
something
gonna say, yeah.
completely different. So then to, like, be such a success in the genre is just so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, our boy from Skinamarink started with YouTube shorts,
too, yeah.
So, yeah.
Except
But
that
he
is more
wasn't, like-
polarizing.
He
than
wasn't
this.
like a big YouTube person like I think some of these guys were, or like a
Yeah,
Chris Stuckman
yeah,
type
yeah,
was. So pretty neat. It is a huge leap, though. Constraints are so much bigger outside the YouTube space. You know?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So let's actually talk about what we thought more. I mean, obviously, we've said we enjoyed this movie, but let's get into that
Sure.
more substantially.
I already said that I felt that it was completely dread-filled the entire time, which is what I was looking for out of this. So, like, that's a huge plus for me.
Yeah.
This is not a spoiler. I like this better than Talk to Me. I like Talk to Me. I think it's fine. I like it. I think maybe I have stepped back on it a little bit. I've watched it more than once, maybe even 3 times.
We've seen it 3 times.
I've stepped back a little bit on it because I think it has gotten so much praise to the point where I'm like, okay, it's good. It's not that good.
Well, I think by the time we saw it the first time, it had oodles and noodles of praise.
And it was good.
And it was like too much praise for what I think the movie is actually doing. I think part of that is that it was these newer directors, especially to the horror space, and coming from YouTube, like, it was monumental. But yeah, I think this movie is better. I think it's more successful what it's trying to achieve personally.
I think they took everything they learned from Talk to Me and elevated that into something better from a writing standpoint and from a directing standpoint. And I was like so happy to see that. That is extremely impressive. Really liked this. And I didn't dislike Talk to Me by any means.
No, I like it.
I do think Talk to Me is good. I found this to be scarier. I found this to be more entertaining. And I think just a better written story and a better looking movie in general. So I mean,
agree.
hell yeah, that's awesome. Keep getting better.
Yes.
No sophomore slump for these brothers.
Well, and did you hear they were going to do a Street Fighter movie, and then they
did hear that.
pivoted to this, which I'm pleased with.
I don't
I'm
really see
happy
the
with this.
need for a Street Fighter movie unless they were going to get a big bag for it.
I mean, they probably were, but they chose to do this, and I love that.
I don't
for
know
them.
anybody that's asking for a Street Fighter movie, but maybe they are.
I'm sure someone is. Maybe we don't know them, but I'm sure
There
someone
are
is.
Street Fighter movies. They've been made before. Not in a long time, though. We got a Mortal Kombat movie, and I didn't even finish it. I watched some of it and was like, yeah, this is okay.
There's a lot of things like that that I'm not going to finish or maybe even start. So I feel like with this film, obviously I went in with high expectations. I don't know if it's as amazing as I thought it would be. Spoiler, it's not a 10 out of 10 movie for me, but I thought I'm a sucker for a grief narrative. I'm not even going to lie with that one. I think a lot of people talk about how it's really played out. And yeah, like the bad ones are played out.
I would say it's played out, but this one had a very unique spin on it. And
I think they did something really cool with it. I mean, I think Talk to Me did also.
It actually has a very similar theme to Talk to Me.
Yes.
I think this one is as good, if not better. I think it's a much more interesting. It's not many more interesting than I guess other versions of this Grease narrative, but it's more unique, and I appreciate that. Like I like something that's going to take that swing, and I think it worked pretty well. And we'll get into that with themes later.
To me, it felt more personal about this than Talk to Me. I don't know if it's because it felt more realistic to me.
This was darker,
and that it was darker as well. It was darker all around. Like, I think Talk to Me, there are moments of levity, like the dog and being kicked out and like them all like going around in the circle, like showing them all doing
it's a little funnier.
There were moments of levity in that versus this movie has like no moments of levity at all.
Well,
And that works for me in this capacity. It worked for me really, really well.
Talk to Me does center around grief and also how children are at the are hit the most by like grief or can be subject to violence via that. And this has the same thing. However, in this one, there's much more of an abuse narrative going on versus like just demons in Talk to Me are like harming a child. In this one, it's these children are being harmed via their grief, harmed via other people's grief. And I think that makes it much darker to just basically see a realistic portrayal of child abuse.
Yes.
And also have the spooky stuff going on.
I think that...
And that makes it feel more personal.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was trying my best to get to there. That was
I
hard
agree.
for me.
I agree entirely that I think because this movie, it just feels so much more grounded in reality. And every single element of it is sad and devastating. It hit really well for me personally. What in this movie do you think, like what elements of the film do you think made it so scary?
Sally Hawkins.
Like what about
her entire performance? I'm gonna. It's hard to not talk about without spoiling. Her entire performance is just unhinged to the point where you're like, is she just like nice and quirky? Is she an evil person? And it's back and forth. I'm like, oh, this person is bad, but I also feel some sympathy, but also I'm rooting against them.
Yes.
But deep down inside, I'm also just like, I get it though. And that she portrayed that so well. You really were anytime she was on screen, that was the person keeping me on edge. So and like the gaslighting she's doing and just everything, the manipulation and the way she acts and the uncomfortable way she acts towards the children, whether it's like good or bad acting towards them, it is just so unsettling and she knocks it out of the park. And and the way they shoot it. And I think that's a pretty claustrophobic movie at times to go along with those feelings that they're trying to invoke. That worked so well for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that she is incredible in this film. I would love for people with these types of performances to get more awards acknowledgement. I don't think this movie will, but like a Golden Globe knob, I'd be all about that.
It probably won't. Also, Australia, not a Hollywood movie. Yeah. It's not that it can't, but it's like, it has an even tougher time.
But what I'm saying is I think she would be someone I'd put in consideration.
Oh, for sure. No, this is like, I don't want to compare it to like Toni Collette Hereditary performance because it's very different, but like kind of. Like that's the direction. It's maybe not as devastating as that, but it didn't need to be. It's like more just this is a really, really strong performance in a horror movie. And she's got two great kid actors to bounce off of that really, I think, elevate her even more.
Yeah. And I think she reminds you of that person that you meet and you're like, is this person just quirky so I find them uncomfortable? Like uncomfortable quirky, or are they like actually dark and sinister? And I think she like toes that line really, really well until she doesn't need to toe that line anymore, until we can really see who she is on the inside a little bit more, or like what her ambitions are closer. She makes you uncomfortable. She makes you scared. All of the things. I think she just really works so well at the center of this movie. And goodness gracious, is she the queen of gaslighting.
For real.
And I think that is also one of the things that makes this movie so scary is it's such like a real fear tactic or like tactic to manipulate people. And so, I mean, like we all know people in real life who've gaslit us or politicians who have gaslit us or like all of these situations. So I feel like you're very easily able to put yourself in that situation of like, what the fuck would I do with this? There is nothing that I can do with this.
Yep. So something else I think it does really well, and I'm going to throw it to TikTok comments to get me there. So a guy in our comments, Nuke, said he can't eat melon anymore. And that's because there is a very good, gory body horror moment with melon in this movie. And I had to say the practical effects, the VFX, and all of the like body horror or even like kind of gore elements were insane. And there's not that many of them. But when they're there, they
go hard.
Tough. It's not like they're overdoing it to the point of it being like torture porn, But my goodness, like it is really effective and evocative when it happens. It's I don't want to say sickening because like I think someone who doesn't like body horror can still watch this movie, but boy oh boy, like there are some gross things that happen.
Yeah, 1,000,000,000% yes. I think this movie has some of the best imagery, or if not the best horror imagery of the year. Like, Sinners obviously has come out in this year and is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous movie. The cinematography is beautiful, but this movie has the imagery that makes me want to throw up in the best way.
Yeah.
It's gory when it needs to be. It's violent when it needs to be. It's
shocking
when it needs to be.
To be honest, there's actually some very shocking things that happen. So, like really, like things that I feel like a lot of horror movies, my expectations because of other horror movies tell me, oh, well, they're not going to go that direction. And then they do. And I'm just like, oh, that caught me completely off guard. And that's like, I think what this movie excels at is keeping me completely on my toes the entire time, or on the back foot the entire time.
Yeah, it goes in directions that you're not anticipating.
We both felt exhausted when it ended. If you're into that, I was, but both of us were just like, we were also on a long trip. We were both like, I'm so emotionally tired. I feel like I was like exercising while watching this. Is that hyperbolic to say?
A little, but I get it.
I couldn't talk to you for a little bit. I was like, I need to.
Matt was like frozen.
Well, I said my
tummy hurt.
I said, why my tummy hurt? Because that's how I felt like my stomach was like aching. So.
Well, I got some like sour candies. You can't get popcorn or candy for this movie. It's not going to go well for your tummy.
That's what you said, right?
You're going to get to a point of like, I can't eat this and see what I am seeing. And again, this is not the goriest movie you're going to see. This is not like torture porn or by that means. There's just something about combined with the atmosphere, the performances, the gaslighting, the Sally Hawkins being uncomfortable of it all, and the imagery, it's too much. What else do you think made this movie so scary? Do you feel like we have gotten there, that we've said all that needs to be said about what is so successful in the scares
I think
department?
from a non-spoiler standpoint, probably. Is there anything else you think we can say without spoiling? Is there anything that you were thinking? Other than we said performances, it looks great. There are some really gross effects. I don't know. I mean, we could just say I think the script is really good, or the screenplay is very good, and the story it's trying to tell already sets you up to be scared. So just like overall, I thought this thing was firing on all cylinders.
And I really quite liked the performance too by Billy Barratt. That's Andy, because his performance is he's just making you like emotionally devastated. Like Sally Hawkins obviously has moments of that. His is all just, I want to cry for you. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And I think having him at the core of the film, like the film really does focus on him. Like we're seeing this kind of through his eyes, I think is really effective. And like experiencing his grief with him.
He also seems so young. Like he's like, I mean, I don't know if they made him look younger. He looks young. He's got some like acne. He's like got braces on.
The braces.
Everything about him makes him younger, which I think is going to make us more endeared to him as well. So when you have him acting well, the story that revolves around him, and then he's also like this young looking guy, or he is young, it just is going to elevate all those feelings. So worked really well.
Yeah.
Who knew Sally Hawkins had this in her? I knew she was a good actress, but this
we
is
all
like,
did. She was up for an Oscar, dude.
But this is different than normal acting. I'm talking about like being as scary as she is in this.
Did this movie do much for you emotionally besides scary? Or like uncomfortable?
I think I was mostly caught up feeling dread. I'll get to that when we go into spoilers, because there are other feelings I had. I think it's to talk about in themes. I think it did make me feel, what did I say, empathetic for all of the characters, but it was very tied to that feeling of like dread. Like I was feeling that dread because of the empathy I was feeling, if that makes sense. But like I said, I think I'd be better off talking about in themes. Okay,
cool. That's fair. Anything we want to say about like cinematography, about how the movie's shot, anything like that?
I said it looks good. Nothing in standout. I think I've watched some really beautiful movies. And so anytime I'm like, nothing standout, that usually means it was fine.
Do you think it looked better than Talk to Me? Or about the same?
Probably the same. I think what I will compliment Talk to Me on more was I really liked the colors of Talk to Me. I really thought there was like a lot of visual popping in that.
This does not have the same visual popping, but I think it's
that's
because it's on purpose.
Yes.
It's shot really bleak, but not in like a
not in gray. It's not
bleak.
Yeah. I agree. But it's also Talk to Me is a bleak movie. I did like the color pops in that, and like that when I think of Talk to Me, I see that in my head.
Yeah, but it's also like a movie that's supposed to elicit the feeling of
for sure
drug use.
Oh, for sure.
And like that kind of.
Well, you asked me which one I thought looked better, and Talk to Me has that edge. Is all I'm saying because of that.
But I'm just comparing. Like that would be why that has those pops of color. They don't fit here at all. They would not fit in this movie whatsoever. The only pops of color this shit needed was the blood.
Yeah, and there's moments. I mean, we'll get to it. Moments of color, especially when it comes to bodies and grossness. So, as you were saying with the blood. All right. Well, do you want to get to spoilers?
Yeah, let's enter the spoiler zone.
Now we're entering the spoiler zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the spoiler zone. After this point, you're going to hear some things that you might not want to hear.
Cool. All right. So now that we are in our spoiler zone, we're going to do 15-second summaries, and then I will do the full plot description. So if you're not prepared, go see this movie in theaters, and then we'll talk. Let me get my phone out. Hannah, do you want to go first for 15-second summaries? Because I am not prepared at all.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right, ready? Begin.
Children's father dies and they end up in foster care, and their foster mother is real struggling in lots of ways, and ritual murder, blood.
There you go. That was 15.
Panic.
I got nothing, so I don't
Panic. Know. All right, go.
Man, they really aren't checking these foster care systems very well. That's all that's my whole plot description.
No, but like actually.
I know. Somebody's got to look into this. We got to get some more money in there.
Yeah, I don't even need to go there, but I did work for. I had a lot of clients with the Department of Human Services, so I have lots of thoughts that I'm not emotionally ready to get into.
Okay, that's fine. Either way, yeah. Foster care, definitely a good thing.
Also, there's problems with the system, and it is ripe for abuse of children. Cool. And that is part of what I think this movie is trying to say. Anyway.
I am going to read the full plot description right now. It's really long, and I know I say that a lot, but this one's actually really long. So if I stutter, don't make fun of me.
Okay.
All right, so... Andy and his stepsister Piper are placed in foster care after finding their father dead in the shower. Their foster parent is Laura, who has taken in her mute nephew Oliver as well. Laura tells them her daughter Kathy, who was visually impaired like Piper, drowned in the backyard pool, which is now empty. Andy is unsettled by Laura, her clear preference for Piper, and Oliver's strange behavior. At the kid's father's funeral, Laura tells Andy that some believe the soul lingers in the body after death, and then she pressures Andy to kiss his dead father on the lips despite his protests. Laura secretly snips hair off of their father's corpse and pockets it. That night, Laura gives the kids alcohol, and Andy reveals that their father was abusive towards him, but affectionate towards Piper, which left him resentful. Laura says she would give anything to hear Kathy call her mum again. The next day, Andy lets Oliver out of his locked room, and then he tries to eat a chef's knife. When Andy tries to take him to the hospital, they cross over a white circle surrounding the house, and Oliver convulses violently. Laura returns in a panic and calms him by rubbing his head in a circular motion, a technique from a VHS tape depicting disturbing rituals from a demonic cult. Oliver briefly begs for help, but is forced back into a trance-like state. She feeds Oliver the hair she snipped at the funeral. That night, Andy attempts to shower, something he struggles with after being traumatized by their father's death, and hallucinates his father's dead body. While showering, while hallucinating, he hears his father warn Andy to not allow Piper outside in the rain. Shocked, Andy slips and is concussed. In the hospital, he pleads with Laura not to let Piper leave the house and play in the rain, fearing she'll die. Laura brings his body spray and promises to keep Piper inside, but she ignores him. She attempts to treat Piper the same way Kathy was treated by dressing Piper up in Kathy's clothes, asking her to stay and live with her, and telling her to call her mom if she wants to. She takes Piper to a freezer in the shed containing Kathy's preserved corpse, allowing her to touch the frozen body. Andy's incessant bedwetting is revealed to be from Laura urinating in a cup and pouring it into Andy while he sleeps, and his deep sleeping is revealed to be Laura tampering with his protein shakes and drugging him. It's revealed that Kathy's body and Oliver are part of a demonic resurrection ritual, as demonstrated from the cult's tapes. It requires a demon-possessed vessel to consume a corpse, then vomit the remains into a freshly killed body that died in the same way. Laura plans to drown Piper to replicate Kathy's death and use Oliver to complete the ritual. After Andy is discharged, Laura covers herself with Andy's body spray and punches Piper in her sleep, and then blames Andy for the assault and tries to turn Piper against him. Piper is unable to tell who assaulted her, but recognizes Andy's scent from the body spray. Laura argues that Andy is abusive just like his father was, that he hurt Piper out of jealousy, and that he is violent and aggressive. Piper is distraught over their arguing as Andy leaves the house, and Laura takes Piper to play goalball as part of her preparation. Oliver, now monstrous and bloated, trashes the house and bites Laura's arm before he begins eating his own flesh. Meanwhile, Andy visits the foster care center that paired him and Piper with Laura and sees a missing poster that reveals Oliver as a missing child named Connor Bird. Andy speaks with social worker Wendy, who reveals that Laura used to be an adored social worker at her agency for 20 years. Andy calls Piper to explain his concerns, and he and Wendy travel to the house to investigate his claims. Laura, having listened to the call on Piper's phone, panics and begins vigorously cleaning the house in an attempt to hide the mess. After Wendy conducts a walk through the house, she notices that Laura's arm is bleeding, and then Laura panics and starts to insist that Kathy can be brought back to life through a ritual she's working on. Andy and Wendy find Oliver feeding on Kathy's frozen corpse and try to flee, but Laura runs them down with a car, killing Wendy. A critically injured Andy is then drowned in a puddle by Laura. Laura brings Piper home. Oliver feasts on Andy's flesh and mimics his voice, confusing Piper and making her afraid. Evading Laura, she locks herself in the bathroom with what she soon discovers Andy's dead body. Laura breaks into the bathroom and tells Piper that she had spoken to an angel who's possessing Oliver's body, and that the angel will put Kathy into Piper's body, but first she must drown her in the pool. Laura drags her to the pool and begins to drown her as Oliver prepares the transfer. When Piper screams "Mum," Laura hesitates, overcome with guilt and grief, lets her go. Piper escapes to the road and is picked up by a passing couple in their car. Seeing his missing person poster, Oliver crosses the ritual boundary and collapses as the demon leaves his body. Police arrive and begin to investigate the house, finding Oliver and confirming his identity as Connor Bird. Laura opens her arm wound, carries Kathy's corpse to the pool, and dies with Kathy in her arms as the police come in and surround them. And that's the full plot description. That all needed to be there, right?
Yeah, it did.
That's crazy. I didn't feel like there was that much to say, but
there was a lot.
There was a lot
to say.
So I apologize to everybody, but there it is.
I will say, when this is like the plot description that you read before seeing the movie, and you're like, how the fuck did we get from there to there?
Very Hereditary, which is how you felt.
That's exactly why I ended up seeing Hereditary, because I was like, I don't understand how we got here. And I love that, honestly.
Well, I will say, I compared this movie, I didn't say this earlier. This movie reminded me a lot of Hereditary, similarly devastating. And so I was trying to say, like, what is the love child of a couple movies here? And I said it was Hereditary, Get Out, because of the whole body swapping thing. I said Evil Dead 2013 because of some of the grossness. And there's probably one more I would throw in there. But those are the three that I really felt this was inspired by, which is a really cool mix. So
yeah. Yeah. It was a very fun mix of things in the most bizarre way that worked really well.
It really did. Yep.
So now that we're talking spoilers, I did want to talk about my favorite body horror scene of the movie.
Oh, we're just going right into it.
I have to talk about it.
Okay.
Or what
knife?
impacted me the most.
Okay.
The knife was fucked, and it did bother me a lot. And I know that's the one.
Oh, I know what it was.
The melon knife is the one that everyone is like very messed up by. I was most messed up by him eating the counter because of the teeth. Like, teeth imagery really upsets me, evidently. That was such a no for me. And I did look up like how they filmed that, because a lot of the stuff was practicals.
It looked very
or like
practical.
Done. Yeah, it's all practical.
Dude was just munching a wood table.
Yes. And the article I was reading phrased it as, the filmmakers let Phillips, his last name, go to town on some super soft, custom-made balsa wood laced with chocolate.
I love that for him. That's so funny.
Mm-hmm. And Michael Philippou.
He crushed that.
Yeah, he did. He did. Michael said the most traumatic part of the sequence for him was then watching his brother enhance the sound effects by actually biting things. So he bit table to make the sound.
That's incredible.
And he bit knife for the melon head bashing
My mouth hurts
scene.
thinking about it.
And I guess they were asked about how the child playing Connor Oliver, like how they felt, or like how the kid felt. And he was like, more blood, please. Like Oliver was super all about this. Also, Oliver's dad is their deceased father in the film. So
Oliver's dad. Oh, okay.
So like his father's in the
In real
film,
life.
his parents are on the set, so he was kept comfortable and safe, and actually was like, more. And I love that for you, my man. So yeah, I had to share that because that is crazy. That scene messed me up so bad. That was like the one where I could not look at all.
I have to think what mine was, if we're going favorite. I think, honestly, when you see his really, like, bloated body, as his body, like, transforms throughout, that was a scene I was saying has a lot of color, is, like, this, like, rotting, bloated body he's in. You're like, what is actually going on with this kid? There's a demon inside him. We don't know where the demon came from, but who really cares?
Doesn't matter.
And this kid is just like walking around like the bloodshot eyes, and it's like he's grotesquely changed from what we've even saw him from the beginning of the movie, but it's happened so gradually that it's like you can't even really remember what he looked like at the start. You know, it wasn't like all at once he changed.
Yeah.
It really was. The continuity, whoever's in charge of that in this movie did a great job of
agree.
Each scene he's a little more messed up.
Yes.
And so that was when I was thinking, and then him like eating her face and stuff. It's just so scary. I want to know more about this demon. That's the sequel or prequel we need. Or the cult, really.
Yeah, I saw some people that were like, there are a lot of unanswered questions about how the mechanics of the cult work, or like how she got this information or whatever. And like, yeah, am I interested in that? For sure.
But
do we
don't
need it?
It's
no.
It's not needed for the story. However, I found the tapes very scary and I enjoyed those scenes. So I kind of wanted more of those scenes. There's something about this weird cult ritual stuff. I was very interested.
But I will argue, by not getting that much of the cult tapes, then that allowed us to be more shocked by what was happening within this
for sure
quote unquote family dynamic.
For sure.
So I definitely see pros and cons to the way they did it versus like had we seen more tapes.
I guess I also will say I have a really weird aversion to hanging. So when that happens in the tape, that really gets under my skin.
Yes.
It all started with Pirates of the Caribbean 3, I think. No, probably was before that. But that scene really scared me in Pirates. Like as a kid, I saw it in theaters and I saw that. I remember like being pretty shook for like a while watching that movie after they like executed that child by hanging. So
it did not bother me because I saw in theaters and the kid was singing and I was like, he's coping so well.
That really freaked me out.
It's like, wow, he's coping so well. Good for him.
So that's something I would say I have a big aversion to, though. So I was like that.
Hanging.
Then the tape, I was like, ooh, like this is like kind of perfect to get under my skin. So this movie still got under my skin in many other ways.
Yes.
And something we didn't say earlier before spoilers, I don't think there was a single jump scare, correct? Or was there one?
There might
have been one.
There's definitely at least one with the dad imagery.
Okay. Well, I was going to say there might have been one. And this movie was very, very effectively scary without pretty much any jump scares, which I think is hard to do. You have to, and for me to even say that for basically the 2-hour runtime, I felt almost uncomfortable the whole time there's not many movies I can say that about. So like it's just really, really impressive. So if like I think this is a movie that people that maybe say I don't like scary movies can see because it's not traditional. No, it's not traditional. I think when I talk to people, be like, I don't watch scary movies, they're thinking about like slashers or like jump scare fests and things like that.
Yeah, no, I always say
watching something like this.
Yeah, I always say movies that horror people don't like should actually try a movie that isn't relying on the tropes that people think of.
So this is what I'm saying. Yes. This is like a good one. They might be uncomfortable the whole time, but
the body you're supposed to horror feel like imagery is not going to be for you.
It's a little tougher.
That's definitely tougher. I would not give this as like a level 1 movie for someone.
No, I agree, but I more just mean like I also know what you mean. People don't understand that movies are trying to make them feel certain ways. I really believe this sometimes. It's kind of funny. Like they're like, oh, I didn't like that. It made me feel bad. That is, you didn't like it because it did its job.
It wanted to make you feel bad.
So like you need to go in knowing this movie is going to make you feel bad. I love that. I love a movie that can make me cry. I love a movie that can scare me, make me feel like shit. I like a movie that can make me scream. which like happens. I like any movie that makes me feel something, whether it's good or bad. And I think I'm just impressed by art. This is my rant. Like if a movie can make me feel something, if art can make me feel something, it has done its job.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't want to make me feel is pissed off or annoyed, right? Like, pissed off is fine. I don't want to.
That's correct.
I'm pissed.
Too.
Well, you're right. I'm not unintentionally pissed off. I should say, when I'm just like annoyed, or bored, really.
Yeah.
Right. But I think I don't find too much stuff boring. So okay, that's my rant. Let's keep talking about this movie. I think it's an important thing to say about art, though. So
yes. Okay. Moving forward. This movie, when you were saying like you felt uncomfortable or like some level of scared, tense the entire time, I think it gets going with the imagery of dad dead on the floor, and then it gives you like a little bit of a break until they walk into her house and she's immediately uncomfortable and blatantly lying, and there's some weird kid in there that's like holding the cat that's yowling, that is clearly not
standing naked in the pool, and you're immediately like, fuck, this is not good. And then it stays not good forever. Yes. What made me uncomfortable the whole time was, I think, her lying constantly, and the way she did it, and the way that I knew she was going to get away with things.
The effective gaslighting.
The effective gaslighting like took my breath away at moments. Like I was like audible in the theater, and it was almost like frustrating in a good way. Like to just see her blatantly like lie, but it's like, oh my God, she set herself up to get away with this, especially because it's like adult's word versus kid's word.
That's what I was going to say, is an older person who has like seniority on you in like most situations is going to have the leverage to get away with that.
Exactly. And so that really was effective for me. I felt myself in that situation.
Because I've been in that situation. You know, like it felt too real for me. I was like, Really
funny comparison. It's like in Harry Potter 5 with what's
literally.
her name? Like not as evil as her, but like similar levels. What's her name?
Umbridge.
Yeah. That's like really made me think about that. So
No, literally it's giving Voldemort is back. No, he's not. I must not tell lies.
Yes. For real. Except in this one, she's turning his sister against him. That's like all he wants to do is wait out this 3 months, adopt his sister, and like that he wants to be there for her. He thinks, and they clearly have this very good relationship. They also great job in this movie defining their relationship and like making it show how much he cares about her. And like how they're both grieving differently. Like really appreciate that. I think they did a great job.
And on that, what you just said, I think this movie does a really good job showing the effects of different types of grief, or like
all the characters.
Pictures of grief. Yes. Yeah, because they're all kind of going through something different.
I completely agree. We'll have to get to that in themes in a second, though.
We can.
Oh, we can just do. You want to jump? That's our transition. Look at you.
And we can say more things later that we like or dislike.
Sure, let's talk about grief then.
So, like, obviously, we have Andy, who's like, it's so fresh for him.
Got PTSD, basically.
That is not diagnostically what you would call anything. You can't get a diagnosis of PTSD, fun fact, until 6 months past the trauma.
But I feel like he's got movie PTSD.
Yeah.
Where he is having visions. He's terrified to get in the shower. Like, sorry, I know you're getting technical. But in the movie world, this is the movie.
I have a
take your
degree
sensitive
in
ass
this.
back to Reddit. Right?
Hey, bro, I have a degree in this,
take
so
your
I'm not going to
sensitive ass
let
back
you.
to college.
I'm not going to let you.
What?
My secondary education, my master's, bitch.
All right.
I'm not going to let
take
you
your
shame
sensitive
me on that.
aspect to grad school.
Yeah.
All right. Not even a doctor. Take it back to med school. All right.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay. My point is movie PTSD is what I'm calling it, which is very different.
Disorder,
okay. ASD. Whatever it is. For the dum-dums out there, including me, we would call this movie PTSD. I'm so mad right now. I'm not actually mad. I'm laughing. But my point is he is experiencing symptoms of movie PTSD where he is having flashbacks to the moment, having visions, terrified to get in the shower. He's showering outside. He's doing
he's
just
not
body
showering.
spray.
Yeah,
no,
he's literally using a hose because he's too scared of showers. Because he can't go into the room because he'll have an outburst or pass out or slip and fall and hit his head, get concussed. And so that is what I'm seeing. You're right. It's a reaction to a traumatic event where he tried to give his dad CPR and his dad died. Yes.
And there's also a trauma with his dad abusing him as well. And he's seeing his dad in this room as no longer his abuser, but also he's probably still feeling the stress of that. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting dynamic that we learn later when it is someone that you have some feelings of relationship with, but also has hurt you so much that adds so much more of a heavy dynamic to your grieving process, because part of you is like, well, kind of happy I don't have to deal with you abusing me anymore, but also don't want to have to deal with the impacts of you dying in many ways.
And he clearly has so much love for Piper also, which at one point in his life he did not, because he was resentful of her. At this point, and they said basically that was like at 8 that he hit her or something. I thought it was kind of implied maybe he caused her blindness, but they never confirm.
I did not necessarily have that takeaway.
That's where my head went with it. But I'm saying like he clearly has so much love for her, and now he's almost grieving losing that, because all he has to do is make it through these 3 months.
And she's going to
just do everything she can to make sure it doesn't happen and turn her against him. So now he's going to lose both his father and maybe his sister,
who's actually his closest person, closest support.
And so you just feel so much like I am behind this guy's eyes throughout this. Like I want everything for Andy. And so we are getting gaslit as the audience as well.
Yes.
And it's just, or we're seeing it, dramatic irony as they call it. And it's like sickening. It's really impressive. Sickening is the best way I could put it. And like that's what's scary about this. And that's the realism, is someone can do this.
And then I think there's this really fun layer with Piper.
Yeah,
That's
Piper.
her name? Yeah, with Piper, of learning things about your loved one once they've passed away and having to come to terms with that, I think is a really difficult thing to have to do. And I think that is handled pretty well too. Like that increases her distrust, not only because of Lara's behavior, but also because of that. She didn't know that. So it increases her distrust of him. So I think that is a really impactful dynamic, and it certainly makes me think about people in my life and like once they've been gone, learning new things, or even just like my parents getting divorced and then growing up and realizing things about their relationship or how they treated one another. That does make me see them both in a different light. So that I felt seen by. And then of course we have Laura's grief.
Maybe like the most important thematic grief going on is Laura's. And what this movie does, obviously, her daughter has died, and she wants to do anything she can to try to bring her back. And actually, the thing is, she's not grieving. That's what we should say. Her grief.
She's not grieving.
Is her lack of grief.
So committed to bring her back that she's not actually coping with the loss in any way. Whenever anyone brings up her daughter or she thinks about anything related to her daughter, she just like sobs. She doesn't have a job anymore because she can't handle working. She's literally abusing these children because she kidnaps a child and puts a demon in it because she refuses to move on. And I know that sounds rude, but like you, as humans, we have to grieve. We're really good at it, actually, usually. That's like a big part of our brains and how things work for us. But you have to find something. And that's kind of what this movie is saying. And by not properly grieving, you're not only harming yourself, but those around you. And I think what this is really saying is that when people don't properly grieve in families, children are the most hurt by it. And like, I would say that's very true thinking about, let's think about your favorite musical that just came out, Next to Normal. Not that just came out.
No, that just got a recording of like, that's very much what that's about, is when a parent is unable to grieve, it is another child that can be facing violence or abuse or just trauma from that, which I think is really, really good messaging. I think Talk to Me does something similar, although it is a child refusing to grieve, so it's a little bit different. But they're the most in need. Like a parent grieving that is neglectful of their child is like one of the worst things they can do. Think about like if a parent dies. As a person who had a parent die, like my mom was very much there for me, and had she not been, like that would have not gone well for me. Like that would have been very bad for me.
It's also interesting thinking we got another movie with that same plot line that came out this year in The Woman in the Yard, which doesn't touch on that at all.
Yes. Yeah.
Like how
you make a good point.
ineffective that movie
Well,
is
yeah, you're
when
right.
it has the same exact.
You're right. She
storyline.
basically refuses to grieve, and her children pay the price for it, but she never actually, like, we never really get to learn that lesson.
Yes.
It's a little awkward. But I really like this. This, I guess, theme does speak to me. I didn't really think about that until now, which is kind of fun.
Having such a personal connection to it.
And it's very difficult for a parent to do this, and it's just something that they have to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, learn this lesson because it's something everyone might go through, right? Like everyone can relate to this in some way at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have to find your coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
You have to find healthy coping mechanisms.
Yes. A proper coping mechanism is not demonic possession.
That's what I was about to say. You beat me to it. We're so in sync. Literally, I was going to say, hey, yeah, you can't actually like drown a kid in the pool and have a demon vomit your daughter's corpse into it. Like that would not be a healthy coping mechanism.
No.
I'm pretty sure I'm not a licensed therapist or a psychiatrist,
but I can easily say that.
But I think I can say that. I think I'm right here. But I mean, Hanna, you're the professional, so
no, you're right.
Enlighten me, please.
No, you're for sure. You're right.
Okay, so say that again, please. I'd like to hear it. Let me soundbite. Matt, you are right.
I didn't say your name, so I could be talking about anyone. But I also, since we touched on the foster care system earlier, I think this movie does a pretty good job also speaking to the foster care system in that there are goods and bads about said foster care system.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a necessity that we have resources for children. However, there are so many issues with the foster care system, and children are so ripe for abuse when they're in the foster care system. Like the percentage of children who are in the foster care system who suffer from abuse is extremely, extremely devastatingly high. And so I think this movie is very clearly showing us that. And the fact that then there's this element of gaslighting and these adults not believing them because they're children who are messed up and therefore in the foster care system. Like it's this cyclical pattern of like you experienced a trauma, so you're not reliable. So when you're experiencing more trauma, no one cares to listen to you. What I think this movie does better than a lot of movies that have like some sort of foster care system or reporting it to some sort of adult is that it doesn't make the staff member who is in charge of their case look like a buffoon.
She figures it out immediately.
Well, not immediately. She certainly believes this adult, but there's a reason she's believing said adult. She's known this adult for 20 years who is a incredible therapist, allegedly. So there's a reason. She's not just aimlessly believing the lady. And then she actually does her due diligence and follows up, takes the kid there to like, look at the situation and try and protect them, sees evidence and is very willing to help them. Unfortunately, that can't happen. But
I need to talk on this scene.
Yes.
Because this is fantastic because from my expectations of horror movies, I was like, oh, well, she's going to leave and not going to figure it out, right? And that's like what this movie has set me up. I'm devastated already. And instead what they do is it's kind of like what Get Out does at the end where you're like, oh my God, the police are showing up. He's going to jail. And no, it's Rod with TSA. TS motherfucking A. In this, you're like, yes, she did it. I can't believe it. Happy day. Boom. She just got crushed by a car.
And holy hell.
It's like funny. And then you're
violent.
just immediately all the dread comes rushing back in. But I'm also happy that they didn't go with this whole bullshit of her not believing and me being annoyed by that.
Yes.
So,
I'm very pleased by that.
I needed also, sorry, to go back to say something about Sally Hawkins' character that I miss. Because they did all this really good work with the grief and her not coping and relatability. I said this earlier, but you really feel sympathetic for her while also being like, this is a truly evil person.
Yes.
And it's this really weird feeling where it's like, I hate her. She is so evil. And then somewhere in my gut,
I want her to have help so bad.
Somewhere in my gut, I'm like, but she is like sympathetic. And I can't tell you it the last time I feel like I saw a villain.
That was that complex. Or effective.
Yes, effective. Complex maybe is strong. Yeah, I guess
it's probably
is
strong. But to have both sides have been so well fleshed out.
It's more the spectrum in which I feel about her. I've never had one this wide of like, was like, that woman is evil. Like this was an evil movie. That was disgusting. She deserved what she got. But then also at the same time, I'm like, but I get it.
Well, and that's what I think makes this movie feel way more realistic to me. Like, she's actually human. A lot of times you have villains like Umbridge or Voldemort who just like aren't human at all, since we talked about Harry Potter earlier.
Yeah.
There is nothing humanizing about fucking Umbridge. So to have this villain who feels like a real person going through a very real trauma is effective.
I agree.
How do we feel about the ending? I know.
Oh, you know how I feel a little bit.
Yeah, I know. So talk about it.
Yeah. So I expected, to be honest, I felt that this was a very, I say evil movie, a very mean movie, and I was expecting a much meaner ending. Andy does die, and so that's tough. I kind of thought with everything she'd done that there's no way Connor gets out of this alive. And to be truly honest, I thought this was going to end with her killing Piper and the body being the demon puking
actually,
up.
And Kathy being.
And I kind of assumed it was going to be kind of like a Pet Sematary, like Rabbit's Foot type bargain at the end. And that's kind of what I wanted, to be honest. Like, I thought this was so mean, it had to end in a mean way. Like, I really felt that she earned her win. And I wanted to leave the theater feeling that pit in my stomach.
You wanted to feel even more like
to be
shit.
honest, I still did. I still was like taken aback, and I was okay with the happy ending, but I think I was really feeling like, wow, this is going to be a really dark ending, and I'm here for it. So,
well, I think when you say happy ending, this still does not have a happy ending at all. But yes, it's happier, much happier and lighter than it could have been for a very sinister movie.
Connor gets away after suffering more than basically anybody, and so good for him. I'm happy for him. And Piper gets away. She loses her brother, but she learns about how she knows her brother loves her. And then the plane goes away, which is indicating him going to heaven. She hears the plane go over, which is like a very sweet.
Well,
she's going to be able to grieve properly, probably. Yeah. So,
well, originally they actually did have a much darker ending. They had revealed that they had multiple different endings, including one where Kathy actually did end up in Piper's body. And so they had a bigger, scarier finale planned, but it got scrapped because their friend died.
Oh.
And they switched it to a more emotional one. That is why at the end of this movie, it says it's dedicated to Harley Wallace, which after the movie, I looked at Matt and said, this is a weird fucking movie to dedicate to someone. It's because he was like in his very early 20s, 22 or 23, and he passed away and his story wasn't finished. And so they said, death is really unfair and it's really sudden. People don't get a resolution. And so the film's ending goes against the conventions a little bit, but it feels more true to life to them.
Okay. I can't fault you guys for that.
No, I can't either.
I still kind of stand by my statement that I like your written ending a little bit better.
But I also can't.
I understand.
Yeah, tell you that
that's really sweet.
What you needed to do emotionally to complete this film is wrong. It's not.
And I think it is like a pretty emotional ending with Laura holding the body.
Oh my gosh,
out in the pool. So... yeah, I overall, it's sad. It's a sad and good movie. It made my tummy hurt. Was
there anything good or bad that we needed to talk about that we didn't touch in any capacity?
I complained about the thing that I didn't particularly like. Another really moment that I had to look away from the screen because we didn't talk about hides or screams was when she reopened her arm wound. That really gets to me. I can't do that stuff.
Enter life. Yeah, that really makes rough.
Me ill.
There's a lot of self-injurious behaviors as well. When he is demon possessed.
Oh, eating his own arm.
He eats his own arm.
I had no problem with that. That was easier for me.
That one was tough to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this. There's some crazy shit that goes down. I'm just thinking about other crazy things. Like when she punches her, that was an impactful punch. I don't know why. Maybe it's because she's punching a blind girl while she's sleeping, but she just goes up and just smashes. And she's like, I couldn't have hit her that hard. And like, we just watched her do it. It's like funny because I was just like so taken aback when it happened in the movie. Mm-hmm. And maybe my favorite scene, if we're talking favorite scenes.
Oh my God.
It was just so over the top and it worked. And that like was just such a good example of like why this movie made me feel so ill.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, anything you don't like or want to talk about that we didn't talk about already?
I did feel like the end, I had the same kind of thought of as you did, but I also can appreciate where they're coming from with their choice for the ending, and I can't fault them for that. Other than that, I feel like this movie ties up most of its loose ends, but the one question I had the whole movie was, how did Dad die? And I was frustrated that I didn't know. But again, it's not like it's important. So
Wikipedia
it's
said
fine.
chemotherapy
That makes
complications.
no fucking sense to me.
I don't
I
know
don't
where they got
understand.
that,
Can
but
someone please explain if
what
you
we
believe
miss?
that?
What we miss?
What I do wrong in brain. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it certainly got me hiding. Yeah, because it was gross
It
and
made my
scary.
stomach hurt. I don't really want to watch it anytime soon. So
I feel more ready to watch this again. I could
Than
watch
Hereditary?
this tomorrow, and Hereditary, I had to take it like a year gap.
Yeah.
So
It is a lot of similar feelings. I said that before.
Yeah.
Like I really did. I don't know that a movie has made me feel this way since Hereditary.
yeah,
So.
no, I agree with that. I get that. So
Cool.
we're going to play a quick this or that with grief horror narratives before we get into our ratings.
Cool. Fire away. You should also start with the one you think I'm least conflicted on to start.
Okay.
Because that's what I think you've been doing my most conflicted to start. So we should move that to the end.
Okay.
So this or that is where I pick which one I like better.
Well, because it's by the same directors, Bring Her Back or Talk to Me.
Bring Her Back beats Talk to Me.
Yes.
I already been saying that. Easy.
Bring Her Back or Smile.
Bring Her Back.
Bring Her Back or Smile too.
Oh, all right. It's not really a conflict. It's still Bring Her Back, but I do shout out Smile 2. I hate Smile 1. I wouldn't say I love Smile 2. I like it.
I quite like Smile 2. They're doing something completely different. They're trying to scare you in completely different ways. So it's just kind of dependent on which one you prefer, I think, personally.
Cool.
Okay. Bring Her Back or The Dark and the Wicked.
I don't like The Dark and the Wicked, so Bring Her Back.
I know. Bring Her Back or The Night House.
Bring Her Back. I hardly remember The Night House. I remember liking it, but it went out of my brain. So
Bring Her Back or The Ritual.
Ooh, this is your best ask so far.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I haven't seen The Ritual recently enough. I am inclined to say Bring Her Back. However, I feel like The
You
Ritual's
need to rewatch The
really
Ritual to
good.
know.
Like really good.
Bring
That
Her
could have gone 50-50.
Okay. Bring Her Back or Lake Mungo.
Oh, this one's also really hard. You don't like Lake Mungo. I do. Mm-hmm. I need to watch it again, but my heart is telling me Lake Mungo.
Ooh, okay.
But I got to see it again. Also an Australian movie.
Yes.
Wow. We love the Aussies. Australia, what did I say? Australia owes me therapy from this. The entire country of Australia
Yeah.
owes me money for therapy.
Okay. I know the answer to this. Bring Her Back or The Babadook.
It's the Babadook. However,
Okay.
Bring Her Back, strong contender. The Babadook is pee pants scary, as I say, and also has an amazing grief narrative. And it's kind of similar, but I don't know. It's got to be the Babadook. Also
Okay.
Australian.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here?
Love the Aussies.
Australia, man. Evil place.
Okay. And our last one. Bring Her Back or Hereditary.
Oh, it's Hereditary.
Yeah. Okay.
Hereditary is just a different animal from any horror movie, really. Like, it's a hard comparison.
Yeah.
So, at some point, we had to bracket it. Like, maybe once I let one beat one, then I got to go Bring Her Back or the Babadook, which is a really hard question.
You just said Babadook. Easy.
No, sorry. The Hereditary or the Babadook.
Oh, no.
I don't talk so good. I was saying whichever one beats, then is next up.
Podcaster says I don't talk so good.
Yeah. You don't have to talk good. You just need a microphone and a computer.
That's true.
Yep. And someone
how
that
we've
listens.
gotten
You don't
so
even need somebody
far.
that listens.
We don't have
many.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some.
How would you rate this out of 10?
I believe I gave it a 8 out of 10.
But
we'll double check the letterbox.
That doesn't matter. What do you feel right now?
Oh, 8 out of 10.
Okay. I also would give it an 8 out of 10.
What would you give it on your scale of -5 to 5?
So I see this scale. Fuck. I don't know how to differentiate them. I'm
I
really
do.
not. How do you differentiate them? I don't
I
understand.
just do. I would give this a +4 or +4.5 on this scale. I think this is one I really want people to see, and I would really recommend.
But like, what does that mean to you? Like, you
My-
enjoyed it?
No.
Or
It's more about the
Or as a piece of art?
impact I think it has, and whether I think I would. It's really about how much I would recommend it. I gave. There's actually an interesting way to think about it. I gave From Dusk Till Dawn a 6 out of 10, but it would probably be a +5.
Because you would totally
you gotta go see
recommend
this.
it.
It is.
Okay.
I love that movie. That's how I'm kind of thinking about it. Where I could give a movie a 7 out of 10, but I feel kind of indifferent about where
If
it
people
stands on a larger scale. So it might be a 0
Okay.
on the scale.
This
That's how I think
helps
about
me
it.
use that scale better.
Well, that's
and
how I've been thinking
You'll
about
probably
it,
hear
so.
future episodes where we don't think of it that way, maybe.
I've been thinking of it that way the whole time.
Oh, well, I didn't.
Okay.
So there's going to be some episodes where my ratings are whack after this, but we'll get there. Then I will also give it a 4 out of 5.
On the plus. No. Oh, 4 out of 5. Sorry, you didn't get to that one
4
yet.
out of negative 5 to 5, yes.
So plus 4 is
Plus
what we would
4,
call that.
yes.
Yeah.
Or a 4.
What are you giving it on your regular scale? Also,
I already said an 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
I already answered that, so that's on
My
you.
brain is not working. This scaling. Matt wants us to just use -5 to +5.
I'm not doing
but
that.
I think I got to use both. Okay. Well, for those in podcast land, we are wrapping it up. I would say go see this movie.
Yeah.
We liked it a lot.
Put money in their pocket.
If you want to feel like poo, this is it for you.
Nice rhyme
It's a
there,
poem,
buddy.
baby. We call that. I'm like Shakespeare. All right.
No.
So I've been Matt Hanna,
I'm sad and disturbed.
and this was Horror Hour with the Hannas. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannas. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!